I hereby reconvene the March 11th, 2014 meeting of the Marion County School Board at 6 p.m. Good evening. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience, please turn off your cell phone and put them on vibrate. Ms. Judy Sonetti, Public Education Foundation Officer, please introduce the Marion County Teacher of the Year, who will be providing the inspiration and leading us in the pledge this evening.
Thank you, Mr. James, and thank you for inviting me here again this evening. I'm proud and I'm privileged to introduce to you Marion County's 2014 Teacher of the Year, Mr. David Steffi. David teaches intensive reading, grades 6, 7, and 8 at Osceola Middle School. And for those of you that have seen the latest edition of Classroom Connections, you will know a little bit more about Mr. Steffi. And I'll allow him to do the inspiration and the pledge this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. It's a privilege. First I want to tell you, as the Teacher of the Year, how privileged I am to be standing here, standing in front of all of the teachers of Marion County. I take this responsibility very seriously. I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And I'm happy for myself, but wow, what it did for my students in my classroom. And I was warned by another teacher, don't do this for yourself. If you can't do it for anyone else, do it for your children. And it's true. So I'm very proud, and I'm thankful. I want to thank you again. I want to talk for just a moment, if I could. All of the things that I feel like that I've had a hand in or a part of, tools for teaching, codes for kids, what I do at Osceola Middle School. I felt like I wanted to say this several weeks ago, and maybe I just didn't get the chance to, or I didn't take the time. None of that is possible without the volunteerism in our community. Tools for teaching, and I wore my shirt tonight in pride. We celebrate our 5th birthday this week. 5 years ago, with the help of a few people, we started this program. 12,500 shopping visits later, I can tell you we, not I, but we are making a difference. I want to talk about 2 of those people that they are the epitome of what volunteerism is to me. When I started this idea, I brought in Judy Zanetti and several other people, and Judy and I agreed that this could work. In the process of putting it all together, a retired gentleman and his wife showed up at the foundation one day and said, hey, we saw you. I think it was in the newspaper. We saw you and we like what you're about to do. Can we help you? Mickey and Carol Mathiasen are their names. They're from Long Island, New York originally. After they raised their 5 children, they came to Florida to enjoy our weather and our beautiful amenities we have here. But instead of them just retiring and coming to Florida and hitting the links or the shuffleboard courts, they decided they wanted to put back, because they knew that in their community they had done so much for their children growing up, teachers and volunteers. They wanted to give back. And so they joined us at the get-go, at the beginning. 5 years later, every Thursday, Mickey and Carol show up with their Tools for Teaching shirts on, and they man the checkout. They don't do this for any reason other than they believe in what we're doing. Now, there are many of those people out there in our community, and I look forward to finding a way in the next year to bringing as many of those people in to our schools, to volunteer, for our kids who need the help. I know they're there. I know they want to help. And I'm trying to find, and will try and find, ways to bring more Mickey and Carols to me. I'm so happy for them. So many people have made a difference, and I could go on and I won't. But Mickey and Carol, I wanted to say tonight how special they are to me, how special they are to Tools for Teaching, and I applaud them and the rest of our retired community who come out and help us on a daily basis. Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Dale, I just wanted to, board, and I know, Mr. Crawford, you work with the foundation over there, and you have an opportunity to go into tools for teaching, and I know Nancy, and I know how you feel about it. Carol and I, and Mr. Crawford, and Angie. I'm sorry, Angie. I had an opportunity to really be at the Golden Apple Award, and your speech at that time was really magnificent in terms of your feel for what you do. And as a board and the entire board, we want to once again congratulate you on that. And I would like to point out that Judy Sinetti, our Public Education Foundation, also really received a state award for our tools for teaching. And I think if we look at one of the things that we do in this community, and we look at the foundation and what it is becoming, this will be one of the benchmark things I think that will be copied throughout the state. And again, I would like to thank you and Ms. Sinetti for really making this idea a real solution to some of the problems that our teachers are facing.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I extend an open invitation. I know that our superintendent has been there. Come by if you're not too busy. Put on an apron. Our school teachers would love to see you, and volunteer for an hour. So I think you'll really enjoy it. Thank you very much.
You sure Mickey and Carol gonna let us do that?
They'll let you on the
Not on
floor. They're not going to
Thursday.
let you behind but they'll let you out on the floor to help.
I had a chance to meet them, and
They're wonderful people.
right, and they really
They're
take
wonderful people.
pride in what they do.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank you, before you leave, for setting up the teacher being able to order stuff from their school so they don't have to come in. And that's been a huge step in the right direction because we have so many outlying area schools. And so those teachers are able to get some of the supplies that you
And we're
offer. So
constantly listening to our teachers. We want to know what we're doing right.
Well, that's-
We want to know what we can do better. And
That's great.
that stems from that. So
That's great. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval of the agenda for the March 11, 2014 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, the audio recording, and DVD included as part of the official record of the meeting.
May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
Second.
It was moved by Mr. Crawford, and it was seconded by Mrs. Ely. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 30th, 2014 administrative briefing and work session?
So
Re-
move.
Oh, let me finish
Oh,
them
I'm
all.
sorry.
Revised to accurately reflect those in attendance. February 6th, 2014 administrative briefing and work session revised to accurately reflect those in attendance. February the 11th, 2014 school board meeting. May I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Okay. It was moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Mrs. Barrington. Are there any corrections to these minutes? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. Ms. Judy Sinetti, Public Education Foundation Officer, is here here for a special recognition regarding a partnership with the Public Education Foundation.
Well, hello again, everyone. Glad I'm not a stranger to you. This evening, I'm very proud to introduce you to, come on up, Mr. Bobby Watts. And Bobby Watts is the general manager of BMW, Porsche, and VW of Ocala. This is the second year that this dealership has partnered with the Public Education Foundation to support the programs such as Tools for Teaching that you were hearing about earlier. And this check reflects the $25,000 that this dealership is providing to the Public Education Foundation this year, but I want you to know that each of these dollars has received a dollar-for-dollar match either through Take Stock in Children or the State of Florida District Matching Grant Program. So this is really a $50,000 donation to the Public Education Foundation. After we get a picture, I'll. Okay. Mr. Watts, would you like to say something?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
We'd like to say that we're very proud to sponsor the children, and I think that's our greatest asset, obviously, so that's why we're all here. So it's a nice, I think, at least a start for BMW to Volkswagen and Porsche of Ocala to try to give back to the community, which is obviously the most important part. And I have all my children go to school in Marion County, but I won't say where or.
Are they in public school?
Yes.
Very good.
So I'm not gonna say anything, so, anyway, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I have a motion to adopt the following revised board policy? Board policy 6.34, 6.50, 6.501, 6.502, 6.51, 6.511, 6.52, 6.521, 6.543, 6.544, 6.545, 6.546, 6.547, 6.549. May I have a motion and a second?
So,
Moved by Ms. Boynton, second by Mr. Ely. Mr. Superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, these board policies have been revised to clarify requirements for leave requests and to update site references.
I declare a public hearing. Anyone present who wishes to speak, wish to address these revised board policies? Seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Are we gonna have some discussion?
Oh, some discussion. I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford.
All right, thank you.
Good discussion.
All right, I'd like to move to strike number 2, first sentence. This is on policy 6.34. It reads, "School board employees who offer himself, herself as a candidate for public office shall notify the superintendent immediately upon qualifying for election." I'd like to strike that line from the policy.
Okay.
can I ask you why?
We have to, I've got to get a
I'm
second to
sorry,
get on the
okay.
floor.
I'll give you a second.
Okay.
Okay, second by Mrs.
Ms. Ely, to answer your question.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of it? Why, you know, all the companies I've ever worked for when I was out in the business world, we had some people who ran for public office, never had to go tell the boss that they were running for public office. And I don't see any requirement here why somebody should say that. Plus, it really doesn't define how you're going to tell the superintendent. You run by them in the hallway and say, oh, I'm running for office. You send them an email, telephone call, you know, carrier pigeon. I'm not, it just is a wasted sentence in there. We probably should have taken it out years ago, so.
But it's been in there for a while.
Yeah, it's been there, I think, probably ever since this policy was written. It was never that, to me, it was never that important,
Not
so.
specific,
Yeah, so we just never, but now that we are revising it, to me, it's time to strike it.
Okay. I have a motion and a second.
I would agree. Can
Oh.
I speak on it?
Oh, yes.
I agree with you, Mr. Crawford. I wasn't really sure why that was there either. If employees want to run for political office, I think that's their own personal, choice. And I can understand why some, you know, they might mention it to their principal. I mean, word's gonna get out. Excuse me. First of all, it's no secret. If the principal at her school or someone in transportation is running for office, that supervisor can call and inform the superintendent. I don't believe it should be a formal contact with the superintendent. I don't believe that that's necessary at all. I think that's just adding something extra on our personal rights to do things, and I understand what is the purpose, you know, would they feel intimidated and maybe be talked out of doing what they want to do? Because when you go to your boss and, you know, the boss doesn't look approving, then it could maybe make someone feel uncomfortable about running for office. So I agree with you, Mr. Crawford. I saw that and wondered why it was there, but I asked about so many different things, I decided to let that one go to somebody else to ask.
Okay, that's fine. Any more discussion?
I think it should stay in. I do believe if an employee, and we do have some current employees who are going to be running for different offices, I feel like they need to be upfront and let their principal know and the superintendent know, just so we're on top of things, so the superintendent isn't caught blindsided by something. I think it's just the proper thing to do professionally, for sure.
Okay, Ms. Boynton.
I support what Ms. Ely was saying, and upon reading it, I noted that, there were some things that were stricken out that,
Right.
kind of pulled it together, but I do think that the superintendent or the immediate supervisor should have some notification. And, because the school board does have some, political activity rules, then that person should be given those rules at the time. And,
Exactly.
and the policy should dictate that.
Okay. Ms. Stacy?
Could we strike it and maybe that, let their immediate supervisor know?
Okay.
Because they can sort of, I don't see where the candidate should have to drive down to the school board office, call for an official meeting with the superintendent. I mean, is this a power trip or what? Let the people do what, they have an immediate supervisor, and that person can spread the word. I don't think that we need so much pomp and circumstance if an employee wants to run for political office.
Ms. Boynton, then the superintendent.
I would, and then this is number two, what I would like to, if, with support, say, instead of saying shall notify the superintendent immediately, but shall notify the immediate supervisor immediately. I would,
Okay. Mr. Superintendent.
I'm going to ask Mrs. Krisalka to make her way up here. Mr. Crawford, for clarification, I was not looking at the policy when you made your motion. I am now looking at policy 6.34. Am I correct in saying this is Roman numeral 2? The first sentence in Roman numeral 2?
Yes.
That is, a school board employee who offers herself as a candidate for public office shall notify the superintendent immediately upon qualifying for election. That's what you would like to have stricken from that?
That's correct.
Okay, we workshopped this and we didn't know that, or we could have prepared some additional wordsmithing for you. I believe that if the policy merely started with the next sentence, she shall conduct his or her campaign, I'm not sure how that works. I would prefer, Mrs. Krisalka, you can help me perhaps withdrawing this completely and bringing it back to you at another time so we can actually put the wording in there. If your intention is to take out that they need to notify the superintendent, or I'm hearing you'd like them to notify their supervisor, I think we can do some wordsmithing to make that look better. That's just a suggestion for you tonight, or we can proceed as
Okay. Let me go to Ms. Stacy first.
Mr. Crawford, would you be fine with it saying to contact your immediate supervisor, just so they know, like when you file? Because it doesn't say when you're thinking about it, it just says when you file.
To me, there's no purpose in, I mean, you're talking about two distinct areas. Their employment with the Marion County school system and what they decide to do on their off hours. And as long as they don't violate any state statute or any board policy about campaigning on public time or anything in that area, then I don't understand why they become a lower class citizen that they suddenly have to go say, oh, I'm running for office.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I agree that, word travels quickly in a district of 6,000 people, and I don't know that it's something totally necessary. I don't know how the immediate supervisor could not know if they have filed.
Okay. Ms. Kazaka?
Is there anything you could add to this discussion other than what's been said?
The language was there prior to us making modifications, so we didn't have a reason that we felt it needed to come out. Our employees, whenever they intend to seek another position, are required to notify their immediate supervisor upon applying for another position. So this mirrors that somewhat, but I'm at your disposal. I can write this however you would like it.
Okay. Mr. Crawford have a motion on the board.
You gotta dispose of that.
I didn't understand.
I said you have to dispose of that motion.
Right. So, the motion was seconded by Mrs. Stacy, and I'm calling for a vote on Mr. Crawford's motion. Do you have it ready for us?
Yes, amend to strike number 2, first sentence, policy 6.34.
Okay. All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
The-
Oh, I didn't vote on it.
May I, if you are striking that sentence, may I request that instead of starting it off with he, she shall conduct, can we start it off by saying the employee shall conduct his or her campaign? I think it would just flow better.
Okay. I don't see a problem with that. Okay, the motion passed by Mr. Crawford 3-2. Okay, any more?
Well, actually, I have a question on, let's see, I guess it's been renumbered as B, or maybe A, or it's hard to see with all these different strikeouts we've got here. But the part that was added in, the portion that was C,
Are you on the same policy?
same policy. The part was struck out, a part was added and said, a permanent employee shall be granted unpaid leave if elected or appointed as a member of the school board, superintendent, or a member of the Marion County delegation, state senator, state representative, continuing for the employee's term of office. I'm kind of curious why we didn't leave, why we left all the other officers out. We left all the constitutional officers that they may be, other constitutional officers were constitutional officers, that were left out. Why the county commission was not mentioned, because obviously somebody can't be working for us and be able to perform their job as a county commissioner, because their meetings are during the daytime, so I don't know when they're gonna have time to do that. Or the city, I don't know why those were not included in there. I think you need to cover all bets if you're gonna mention it.
Okay. Ms. Kazaka, is there something that we can do to add this in there? Come back.
I think the intent here was to broaden the positions that an employee could hold to benefit the school system, from just the school board and the superintendent to also considering state and state representatives and senators. They could benefit education. Having them apply for the supervisor of elections and different other positions had never been covered before, so we didn't add those in here. If it's the board's desire to say when they seek position for any elected office, we can rewrite it in that manner, but that's the reason that we limited it to these positions.
Okay. Any more board discussion on this issue?
If Mr. Crawford's uncomfortable with this, I would like for him to continue talking, because he's very experienced, he's been here for a number of years, and if there's something you're uncomfortable with,
To me, I think that if you're, because I don't think anybody reading it is going to think, well, we're just doing this for the jobs that may enhance or benefit the school system. I think you need to make it as a, you know, if you're gonna, to me, I would just strike the whole thing out altogether, but if you're gonna do it, then you need to include every potential, position that is, elected in this county. And in fact, you're even gonna have to take it down to the, Soil and Water, Board, because they're also elected. So I think that, you know, you just, if you're gonna say it,
Okay.
say elected positions, that might be the better way to handle it, rather than have a laundry list.
Okay, Ms. Stacy.
I'm catching on to what you're talking about, Mr. Crawford. I agree that if teachers wanted to serve in other areas in the elected boards and take unpaid leave,
Well, this applies to any employee.
I believe, yeah, well, or any employee, I think they should be able to, either all or nothing is the way I look at it. You know, if we're gonna grant it, I don't believe we can cherry pick. I don't think that's fair, because we can't hold our employees back from wanting to do things in the community, serve in public office for 4 years or 8 years. And I'm with you. I don't think we should limit it either all or nothing.
Okay, what I'm looking at here, and if y'all don't have any discussion, I'll bring it here where we would like to. Mr. Crawford, are you making another motion to strike that out of there?
Well, no, actually, I had just posed a question. You know, I can make a motion. You basically could change it to, a permanent employee shall be granted unpaid leave if elected or appointed to an elected position in the county
State?
or state, yeah.
Okay.
But-
Mr. Superintendent.
Help me out here on procedural. We've had 2 opportunities to workshop this, and this is the first time this has come up. I think this begs for more conversation other than here tonight, unless you want to go ahead. I'd be happy if whatever the correct procedure is to withdraw this tonight.
What's the problem about discussing it tonight? We're having a public hearing, that's what we're here for.
Oh, okay, well, if that's your choice, then I would beg for, I think the situation begs for an amendment to the recommendation with specificity, in other words, and we can work on that tonight with the wording. So your amendment would read, I'm not sure how.
It would read, strike everything after, let's see. After, appointed, and then insert, county or statewide, public office.
May I suggest federal also?
Okay.
Might have a congressman in the bunch.
Okay.
Never know.
My understanding, I'm trying to help Ms. Flotketter here also as we go. So, as I understand your,
Okay, now,
we don't have a second yet, but as I'm trying to repeat the amendment here. We
okay,
can-
now, Mr. Crawford has put a motion on there. Okay, now, I'll ask Brenda to read it if she have it.
I'm still working on getting it right
I
here.
think this is what it would say. Permanent employees shall be granted unpaid leave if elected or appointed to county, state, or federal office.
That'd be good.
Does that cover?
What about city?
Oh,
City,
gotta add that in there too?
or just political office, I mean, it doesn't
Okay,
really matter.
all offices, all public or private, all
All
public,
voted,
political.
elected to political office,
Okay, now,
that way.
what we're doing now, we're
Period.
butchering it up a little
What do you
bit.
think?
Nah, put them all in there.
Okay, now, can anybody read it back to me now?
Yeah.
No,
We're getting closer. Permanent employees shall be granted, we got a couple of options here. Unpaid leave if elected or appointed, to the city, county, state, or federal office. Now, it was suggested also public office.
I think it'd be better to.
City,
to-
county, state, and
Yeah,
federal.
define which ones they are.
okay, so you're gonna strike the new wording after appointed and insert to city, county, state, or federal office. Okay,
You need a second for that.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Crawford had a motion, made the motion, Ms. Stacy
Second.
had the second. Any more discussion?
Are we gonna continue the wording, continue for the employee's term of office? Are we gonna keep that on?
Oh, okay, yeah, we need to add that in.
Okay.
okay, what was that?
continuing for the employee's term of
Right after where it
office.
says state
Leave.
representative.
But federal office,
Continuing
Thanks, Mr.
continuing for the
employees'
employees.
term of office. This may not have some typos in it, okay?
We'll forgive.
Okay, can we read it to make sure we got it right now?
Okay, strike the new wording after appointed, as it, policy 6.34, new section C. Strike new wording after appointed and insert to city, county, state, or federal office. Leave at the end, continuing for employee's term of office.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
section B.
Oh, it's section B, I thought it was C.
It's
Oh,
hard
it's
to
new
tell.
section,
it
new
is now.
section B.
New
I'm
section
sorry.
B.
New section, thank you for the
Roman
clarification.
number 2, section B.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Crawford and Mrs. Stacy,
Mrs. Crawford and Mrs. Stacy.
okay. We're going to vote on that. Oh.
Call the,
But there's more discussion.
Sean, question. Okay.
we're calling for the question.
Did we have something does this pertain to this?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Can't, thank you. We've already voted on this item.
Haven't we voted on this already?
No, that was
This
one, that was the first
is
one we
this-
voted, this is the second one.
This is the second amendment to
Second amendment.
6.34.
Oh, let me vote? Yeah.
Well, it didn't me, so, let me try again. I think I voted too soon, that's what happened.
Okay, fine vote.
The motion passed 5-0. Okay. Do we have any,
Yeah, can you pause for just 1 second, please? There's definitely a procedural here.
Everyone's want to do something.
I had looked at it and it bothered me, but, you know, it's like, well, I can't remember everything.
Okay, all right, so now we're back to the regular motion as amended, to
okay.
the initial motion as amended. Let me add that to that. I'm sorry. Okay, as amended, alrighty. Did action, and then we're ready to vote on that, or is there further discussion?
Well, is that related to what we talked?
There was a public records request, but it has to be in by 6 PM. I mean, public hearing request, but the script said, submit by 6 PM.
Okay. Okay, we're down here at the motion and second to accept. I'm at where I'm declaring a public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the board on the revised policy?
And we already did that.
We have already
We
did
passed
that.
and there was no one at that time
Calling the question
for the original motion as amended.
on the original motion as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, you just called for public hearing, anybody else had public hearing, and I turned in a form, albeit a little bit late, but you just gave me an opportunity.
What do we have on that? What is he requesting?
I just want to address the board regarding that.
I really don't have a problem with him coming up if you want to say something. Come on up.
Chris Altabello, 2020 Northeast 43rd Street, Ocala, Florida. I believe the reason why this has come to you tonight is because during the negotiation session, this prior bargain, we presented that new language. And the reason why the association brought state office representative and senator of Marion County's delegation was we're finding that there are teachers running and being elected across the state of Florida. And our policy was vague, our contract was vague on it. And I believe that's the reason why, although I can't speak for the county, I believe that's one of the reasons why this language change. I'm not sure, we would have to defer to Ms. Krasalka and Dr. Ham, my executive director, but it's my understanding that our contract's gonna trump board policy. So you've amended this, but our contract now states something different. I'm open to a discussion about various elected officials. The intent, we really brought this because we know that when you're looking at primarily decision-making for public schools in Marion County, you're talking about this board, you're talking about primarily the representatives and senators that come out and represent Marion delegation. Certainly open to the idea of something, but I don't think it was the association's intent to think that a soil and water manager or a committeeman or a city council person even who's on a part-time, basis or whatever, so I don't know where we're going with this. You've just amended it, but we may have to come back and see what the process is.
Thank you.
But that's the intent of why I believe it was brought.
So, do you think that there would be a problem with allowing them to run for other offices?
They're free to run for whatever office they want. From the association standpoint, we didn't dive into every single elected official capacity. Our goal was to allow our people to have an opportunity, because we have teachers that need to take leave during the legislative session to go up to Tallahassee. That's what our intent was. But if you want to open it up to every single political office in Marion County, I think we're open to that conversation.
Okay, when it's time for us to do that, we'll come back and
But
bring this back.
I do think that Ms. Morris and whoever need to look at, now the language has changed from what's in our contract to this board policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kasaka?
Because the board policy is more permissive than the union contract, it won't be a problem. If it was the other way around, and board policy was more restrictive and the union contract was more permissive, the union contract would trump the board policy. But in this case, because of the way it's written, it won't be a problem.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted?
Second.
One question.
Back it up, hold it for a minute.
What, yeah, I would assume we were voting on the changes to board policy on a individual basis, because I have a question on policy 6.00.
Well,
Okay, they were all grouped together because it was just all regarding the same reasons, and I've always grouped them as when they were the reasons for the changes.
Since I voted with the affirmative, I now move to reconsider.
Okay.
okay,
Second?
so you
Make a
was,
motion to discuss this?
Well, I have a question on,
Okay. Let me just get up there and get this on the record.
I voted in the affirmative, I can second it.
okay, what I'm hearing is that, Mr. Crawford, you have another discussion about another.
well, I have a question. We may not have a particular problem, and maybe somebody can answer it, but what does FMLA stand for?
Ms. Kasaka?
Family Medical Leave Act,
All right,
federal legislation.
then I have no objection. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. We will proceed then. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted?
So moved. Second.
It was moved by Ms. Boynton and second by Ms. Ely. All in favor signify by saying aye. The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the following donations? $1,000 to Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary from Ada Adi Asu. $1,410 to Forest High School from One Blood Inc. $15,000 to Hillcrest Public School from an anonymous donor. $2,500 to Horizon Academy at Marion Oaks from the Colin Foundation, Inc. $1,092.35 to Horizon Academy at Marion Oaks from Horizon Academy PTO. $1,500 to Lakeware High School from One Blood Inc. $1,233 to Maplewood Elementary School from Maplewood PTO. $1,590 to North Marion High School from One Blood Inc. $1,000 to Vanguard High School from Ocala Heart Clinic. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Ms. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. And I think, Ms. Ely, it's your turn to think.
Absolutely. I wanted to thank the people in the community who recognize the importance of supporting our schools. That's the total of donations this meeting was almost $26,000. And we know that by donating to a specific school, you care about that school, but you also care about other schools. That makes a whole bunch of difference in the school system. Those go to the internal accounts. Principals can use them where they need to be used, and it goes absolutely back into the classroom. But thank you so much for donations, and especially that anonymous donator. My goodness, thank you so much to all of you.
Okay, I did everything but voted on it. So all in favor of accepting the donate, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. At this time, will pass the gavel to the vice chair, as I would like to make a motion.
Mr. James, you, have a motion for us?
I have a motion. I move that the Staff Development Center at Marion County Educational Leadership Center, Marion Technical Institute site, the Old Forest High School, be named the Robert Mack Dunwoody Educational Complex.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Do we have a motion and a second by Ms. Ely?
Okay.
Any discussion?
The thing I'd just like to just share with you, this complex meet all of the requirements in our 8.54. And I would say that it would not cost the district any money to have the name put on the building, and it would provide an opportunity for people to really understand, or really to add into the conversation what this building and what this person did in this community and what that building really symbolized. It meets all of the requirements, and this is one of the things that I think as a community we look forward to remembering our history and looking at what we do. Ms. Stacy.
Ms. Stacy?
So the school will remain Marion Technical,
That portion,
that portion, and this will be the staff development?
that complex down there, yes.
Okay. Normally, from this day forward, I will withhold my support for the naming of things because I don't want this to be a building where we have our meetings and we talk more about school building names than anything else. But because I originally believed that any building, I supported amending our school board policy where a building, not necessarily, not a school, but a building, administrative building, could be named after someone in our district that had made tremendous historical things happen, that would be worthy of being taught in our school classrooms. What happened in the 1960s is something worthy of that. I want to go on the record that I will not be supporting things being named by people in the community that have not met our policy of being passed on for 5 or 10 years, whatever our policy now reads. But this is one time I will make an exception because of the importance of the things that happened in the 1960s. My uncle was on the Palm Beach County School Board when this happened. And my uncle basically was told that they would have no future in the community because on the Palm Beach County School Board, he voted the same way 3 board members voted here under Mr. Dunwoody's recommendation. And my uncle had to leave our community. So because of the historical significance of this, I am pleased to support your recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Crawford, do you have anything? Ms. Healy?
I totally support your recommendation, Mr. James. I believe Mr. Dunwoody's name is an important part of our history in Marion County. To have a building named in his honor and memory will help our, not just our employees, but our students understand what happened in the 60s and how important Mr. Dunwoody was to our school system. So I totally support it.
Okay, thank you.
Any more, Mr. James?
No.
All right, then, call a question. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Like sign. At this point, I will pass the gavel back to the chair, Mr. James.
The motion passed 5-0. 4-1. Meeting reminders. The March 25th school board meeting is canceled due to spring break. And the closure of the district office is from March 24th to the 28th. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for Thursday, April 3rd, 2014, at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss 2015 health insurance option, including self-insurance, insurance as well as a final review of the 2014 and 15 Code of Conduct and staffing plans. Immediately following the April 3rd administrative briefing and work session, a special board meeting and leasing corporation meeting will be held regarding refunding certificates of participation. This meeting are anticipated to begin around 11 a.m. So please mark your calendars accordingly. And we will start with each board member. We'll start with Ms. Ely.
I wanted to encourage our parents, if you haven't been to your child's school library, to please go in and visit, along with our Marion County Public Libraries. They've turned into multimedia centers, not just books, but audio books, video, ebook materials have increased, and our traditional print books have gone way down. I was very impressed with Legacy Elementary when I went there. It's totally different than when I was at Shady Hill as principal, but I would strongly encourage you to go to visit your child's elementary school and see what's going on in the library. A lot of ebooks, lot more available to our kids, and our public school, our public library is the same. So please go visit if you haven't. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Boynton.
I just want to thank the staff. There were some concerns during the week with some parents, and I just want to thank staff for the immediate handling of every concern. And thank you too, Mr. Tomlin, for all you do. Thank you.
Mr. Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, I had an opportunity to attend, along with the superintendent today, the great program that North Marion High School started. I think this is the 4th anniversary, the Drive for Life program. It was just excellent. So if you get a chance to go next year, please do. This is a student produced program, and it is an attempt to avoid the needless loss of life by people driving in cars, and there's very simple ways of doing that. Buckle up and slow down, and that was really the two biggest points I got out of the program. But you had testimony from students on the campus who have lost brothers and sisters because of a traffic fatality. So it is an absolutely excellent program. They had a little brochure that they handed out, but the testimony, the videos they showed, things like that, it was well worth it. Thank you.
Ms. Stacy?
Yes, Mr. James. Mr. James, you talked to us about being in transition, and we are in transition. And due to the fact that we have been ranked 44th in the state way too long, I think it is time for us to become competitive with our districts of our size. There is a huge, huge bipartisan groundswell of support behind the idea of the appointed superintendent. In the past, there has been only one side, the Democratic philosophy, that they wanted to move towards the appointed superintendent, but now the conservative side is also totally on board. They're flocking to it like bees on honey. In my many years as an education activist, I have never seen people on all sides of the aisle, the political spectrum, come together as I see people coming together for the appointed superintendent movement. This excites me because I want to keep this bipartisan pro-education momentum among these groups going. Because, Mr. James, I dream of the day that our state's large districts, our size and larger, will come here to visit us because we are doing great things. We will never be the school district that shines upon this lovely Florida hill called Marion County, as long as we remain one of the last dinosaur districts of our size in the nation to continue operating in constant campaign mode at every level, the school board and the superintendent. This way we could cut 50% of the politics that drives our teachers and our principals' blood pressure up by moving to the appointed superintendent. At least with the appointed superintendent, someone would finally be accountable for failing schools and class size violations. But right now, the board points our finger at the superintendent and he at us. No school system this large can be successful with so many chiefs because this community has no idea who to blame for its problems in the schools. There is only one district as large as our district in the state, as far as I know, and possibly the nation, that is still electing superintendents. The criteria for at least I haven't been able to find one. The criteria for the elected superintendent is simply that he can't be a felon to run for this seat. Our students get one chance at an education, so it's time, Mr. James, that as we transition, that I believe we should get her done. Long ago, I asked one of the county administrators how his job would be different if he was elected, not appointed, by the county commission. He had no clue why I was asking him such a question, and he laughed and said I would probably work 1 year in campaign 3. That was an honest answer from someone who didn't even know why I was asking the question. Frankly, our students deserve to have someone be accountable for their education, and I think this board needs to consider taking the step that will stop half the politics taking place in our schools once and for all. I have done a tremendous amount of research. I have spent many, many hours over the last few months on this project. I have looked at other districts in the state. I have looked at test scores. I have looked at finances. I have looked at the comparisons of our academic success compared to surrounding districts. I have contacted school board members. I have spoken to CFOs in districts and superintendents. I am begging you, Mr. James, to please consider putting this on the closest workshop meeting agenda that allows for proper advertising so that we can discuss it as a board. This is well worth our time to discuss because I have a lot of information I can't give tonight that I would like to give to everyone. And at least we could look into this possibility and I could share my research. This documented much of it off the DOE website. It is time to be the leaders I know each of us are, because we have been doing what we have been doing isn't working if we have failing schools in our district and we remain stagnated at 44th in the state, near the bottom, plus we won the class size violation trophy for the state. Honestly, if I was new to this county and I researched what is going on in the school system with last year's test scores and the class size issues, I probably would not vote for anyone on this board, to include myself. This district is in serious trouble. We have teachers telling me their blood pressure is so high they may have to take leave. We have textbooks with pure lies in them that our students are being forced to read. We have moved the Pearson Language Arts series into one of the second finalists for approval after I read all 3 of those books during, I believe it was my Thanksgiving break, shared a report on television with this board on what is in those books, and still, this district, those looking into the textbooks, have moved this book into the top 2 running when it was just the 3. It was in one of the top 3. It's now one of the top 2 series. I even gave the bias in this book to the superintendent and the page numbers to look at from the teacher's edition, where in one of those books, the teacher is instructed to tell the children that it is not always good for them to be too good. I would like to get serious about our students' future and keeping our good teachers. Sadly, Mr. James, tomorrow has already come and gone for some students, and their today has passed. But Mr. James, it is today for 42,000 students who have no one but us to speak for them and to speak for their education. I am asking you to please allow me to do a presentation on what I have found through my research on this topic as soon as possible, and see if this school board would give me a half-hour time at a workshop to discuss this.
Good. Thank you. What I'd like to do in reference to that is look at a date where we can put the discussion of appointed superintendent on a work, into a work session. And Brenda, if you would send me some dates, and I will look at what we have to do in terms of that. And then we can add that to a work session. Let me just share this with you now. I really don't have a problem with adding that to a work session, but I will caution you again now. A lot of the things that we had on the work session that the staff did an excellent job bringing to us tonight, we still ended up with it being here, because I realized that we had those, all of those board policies. We had those for a long time. We had that information. I think Mr. Kasaka really did a good job in terms of getting that to us, and we still ended up with it here. And I really don't have a problem per se in terms of the workshop. I just want to make sure that we take advantage of the workshop. Okay, Ms. Morris. Brenda, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Crawford, thank you for bringing up the Drive for Life Assembly today, that we emphasized school safety and student safety, and that was an outstanding assembly. The second topic along that line, we also here in Marion County have a Battle of the Belts, as in seat belts contest. This initiative started about 10 to 12 years ago. It's a partnership with our own safety and security folks and local law enforcement personnel. Our goal is to encourage teenagers, as you have already mentioned, sir, our teenage drivers to use their seat belts. All of our high schools participate in this, and we have an unannounced count that occurs as the students are leaving campus on a particular day. And this year, 3 different schools tied in the results for that. Forest High School, Vanguard High School, and Westport High School. When they were observed, there were 93% of those students who were actually wearing seat belts when they left the student parking lot. The runoff was held between those 3 schools, and on another unannounced day, 96% of the students at Forest High School. So I'm happy to announce that Forest High School was the winner of that most important safety initiative. A second topic I'll mention to you again is, you know that there's an initiative in Marion County called Engage in Education. I have been working with that group and have had an outstanding opportunity to meet with a number of people in all walks of life and various corners of our county. I've already invited you to a debriefing session that'll be held again on Tuesday of next week. That's March 18th at 5:30 p.m. in the Forest High School auditorium, and I certainly encourage you to attend. The people who will be attending that meeting are the participants in the process thus far. I've invited you, and I've also invited our school leadership teams to attend also. Another item that I'm very, very proud of all of our students here in Marion County, the Florida High School Athletic Association has an academic team championship. And I'm going to be a little wordy here, but I'd like to read out our highlights here. You know, our athletic teams are divided into different classifications, and I'm just going to go real quickly through these. In boys basketball, Westport High School was the number 5 in Class A. Forest High School, the number 1 academic school in Class 6A. Vanguard High School, number 5 in 6A. And Bellevue High School, number 5 in Class 5A. In girls basketball, Westport was number 8 in Class 8A, Forest number 12 in Class 6A, Vanguard number 13 in Class 6A, and Dunellen number 3 in Class 5A, and then Bellevue number 10 in Class 5A. In boys soccer, Vanguard was the number 1 team in the state, Forest number 2 in 4A, and Westport the number 12 in 4A. In girls soccer, Forest High School, again, number 1 in Class 4A, Vanguard, number 2 in Class 4A, Westport, number 19 in 4A, and Bellevue, number 20 in Class 3A. In wrestling, Westport, number 9 in Class 3A, Forest, number 10 in Class 3A. In girls weightlifting, there's only one classification. Forest was the 10th ranked team, Bellevue 11, Dunellen 13th, and Westport 27th of all high schools in the state. And in cheerleading, Forest High School in 2A was number 9, Westport in Class 2A was number 15, and in Class 1A, Dunellen was number 4, and Bellevue was number 25. A statement that I received from Ed McPadden, our coordinator of this program, that he reminds us that, again, both Forest High School and Vanguard High School are ranked 1 and 2 overall in 6A statewide. It's good to point out, Ed continues to say, that our kids know and understand that the word student comes before athlete. And hats off and congratulations to those team members and also the coaches and administration of those schools for guiding them. A little late, two more final things I'd like to say is we have a large group of social workers in our district. Last week, Governor Rick Scott announced a little late that last week, March the 2nd through the 8th, was School Social Work Week. And certainly we'd like to recognize those folks also. We didn't know about his designation until a little late, so I'm bringing it to you tonight. And those persons have vital roles in our school system. And my final note, in 2011, Mrs. Dale Wade, one of our instructors at the Marion Juvenile Correction Facility, was one of our Golden Apple finalists. That again was 3 years ago. And today it was announced that Mrs. Wade is one of 3 state finalists for the entire state of Florida as Juvenile Justice Teacher of the Year. She's not the number 1 teacher in this particular category, but she's one of our top 3. We're certainly very proud of her. Congratulations. And we'll get her to come in here some point in time and give us an inspiration as Mr. Steffi did tonight. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Okay, that's wonderful. I had an opportunity to go out there and be with Ms. Steffi as our colleagues and the state of Florida recognized her. She is a tremendous teacher, guys. And I just want to thank Ms. Dr. Dana Absher and Ms. Shanika Murphy for really putting on a good program to recognize her as one of the top 3 finalists. And again, Ms. Ely, you would have loved the fact that all those kids had on uniforms out there.
You bet. Yeah. Bet they were well behaved too.
And they were well behaved. And they had no tardies, and they had no absentees either.
Of course.
I just wanted you to know that. Some other things now that we need to be aware of. On April 3rd, I will be going to the National School Board Association meeting in New Orleans. This has been part of some of the things that I've been involved with for years, and this is where we have a voice in speaking and talking about what we do to the National Association, and then we in turn can affect what they do nationally by having a voice to that. So I will be down there on April 3rd through the 6th, so we'll be going there. We were down at the Central Florida Coalition of School Board meeting, public school board meeting, and I would really strongly urge you all and to really look at the minutes of the meetings, because there's some issues like the unfunded mandates that the legislature will be dealing with. The textbook issue that Ms. Stacy spoke of will be one of the hot topics. I think it's 8.64. Is that what? but it will be coming up. And there is some things that we as a district can align what our legislative agenda is with what we're trying to do at the Central Florida Coalition. And I would strongly urge all of you to really look at the minutes and look at the issues that we are talking about. I think one of the things we talked about was the class with Mrs. Hickle, over in Daytona, Senator Hugo, in reference to the economic class. This is one of the issues and some of the things that we will be that was discussed there as well. But several of the things that we have talked about tonight are the things that will be presented. Mr. Alabella, that information was brought up as well. So he was not giving me anything that I hadn't heard. The school districts all throughout the state have not heard. So it's not anything that's foreign, and he's surprising us with anything because you read your minutes, it's there. The thing that I would just like to share with all of us here now, we are in transition. And I really appreciate Mrs. Stacy reminding us of that. We are in the process of hiring or looking at what we're doing with our attorney and how we will proceed with that and establishing rules or guidelines on how we will interview the candidates for that. So I want to make sure all of us understand now that when we have a transition, everything is not going to turn at one time, because we have to make sure we do it right. I appreciate what Mr. Crawford did tonight, was looking at some things in terms of what we're doing in terms of our board policy. But I will strongly urge all of us, I understand about the transition, but I want to work together as a team. And let's make this thing move along as smoothly as we possibly can, because I do not want what we do to be seen as a vendetta or whatever, because this is what we need to do at this point in time. This is where I am with this, and I want to just share that with you because I would love for this board to move to the future in this transition period in an orderly manner. This is what this is about to me. Thank you. Okay. Moving along. Before addressing the expulsion matters, I will acknowledge that the board members have received an alternative placement list for students through February the 21st, 2014. Are there any parents in the audience who wish to speak on behalf of a student regarding a disciplinary matter? May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of students JD 14-52E, JD 14-53E, JF 14-54, JD 14-55, JD 14-56, JD 14-57, JD 14-58, JD 14-59, JD 14-41E, with educational service through the first semester of the 2014-2015 school year. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
It was moved by Mr. Crawford and second by Mrs. Ely. Are there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 14-60, 60, without educational service through the first semester of the 2014-2015 school year? May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Mrs. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passed 5-0. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
moved.
Second.
It was motion by Mrs. Ely, second by Mrs. Boynton. All in favor signify by saying aye. Meeting is adjourned.